And welcome, Lowco sports fans, to the Lowco Grind. We're still working on an intro for this new show because this is the debut of our new podcast, new show covering wrestling primarily for the time being, but certainly lots of combat sports and boxing, MMA, things like that. And we will talk with Carlo Peruzza a little bit later, our fight doctor. He just got his doctorate from Charleston Southern. He's a big MMA guy. He's going to fill us in on some of the local scene as far as the local gyms, some of the fighters, and especially connect the dots for some of the former wrestlers that have transitioned over to that, quickly growing sport of MMA. But we will start with the wrestling because we've got a couple of guys who've been in the gyms a lot with us tonight with Coach Alex Hagan from Bridges Prep. I just got to see your team in action tonight, Coach, against JP2, Bamberg Earhart, and the combination Carlton Prep Thomas Hayward team, which Alfonso Jay from Jay's Barbershop, you guys know him, one of our sponsors. Your kid is killing it, man. A couple more quick pins tonight, Jacob at 113. And we've got another friend joining us, Greg Lawns from JP2, coming in hot. So getting some love for some of the smaller programs here. We talk Wes a decent amount, and then of course Wes Kerr is joining us. Sorry, Wes. Wes and I talk a good bit about some of a lot of the wrestling in the area, but sometimes the smaller programs get overlooked a little bit just because you're competing in different places and against different teams, and it can kind of be hard to make apples out of oranges. But great to have you guys on tonight, and great to see your programs in action tonight, both growing tremendously. So I think we'll start there. I mean, I'm a wrestling guy since I was a baby. So I've always kind of given wrestling, a little more look than maybe some sports journalists traditionally would. But I think there's a movement afoot here that has been happening for a few years, dating back. We got a little club going pre-COVID to go kind of rival what was happening on Hilton Head, try to get it going in Bluffton and in Beaufort. And then Reverence came in and that kind of took it to a new level. And I think we're starting to see it bear fruit, fellas. We're starting to see numbers at the high school level like we haven't seen before. And then the numbers at the middle school level are blowing up. So I think the sport is arriving here in the Lowco. What do you think?
I gotta agree. It is skyrocketing these last few years, and it's been fun to be a part of it, and to see all of you, share your stories as you will in a few minutes about your journey through the sport of wrestling, and most specifically here in the Low Country, because it is starting to thrive. You mentioned Reverence Wrestling Club, which is doing a tremendous job growing that next generation and laying down that pipeline for so many boys and girls to follow. Girls wrestling is certainly being a major story as well with the success on the female side. So it's become a tremendous alternative to basketball and other winter sports. Well, really we just have basketball and wrestling. And so when you look about what wrestling has done and what it could be, I think there's tremendous more room for growth that we haven't seen yet, and you guys are all a big part of that. So we thank you for joining us and being a part of this maiden voyage of this new podcast. So just go around the room, Jason, Coach Hogan, and Greg, Coach Lawns, and just your initial thoughts on how it's going in terms of the Lowco in general, your team's seasons, and your thoughts as a whole on what wrestling has become so far here in the Low Country.
I go first?
Who wants to go first? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you're up next in the clockwise circle.
For Thomas Hayward, it's a new program, so
yeah,
it just started not too long, a couple years ago. And
you got Ryan Rosenlieb coaching over there, who was a standout at Bluffton. His brother Tyler, I want to say, was the first state champion at Bluffton, but I'm not positive that's accurate. One of the first.
Yeah, it's been a challenge, because it's a small school as it is. We barely have enough football players. They have to play both sides. So when it's a new sport and as far as wrestling, you have a lot of people at the beginning of the season sign up, and then when they go through that first practice, 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, the first couple, you kind of baby them, but then once you get to the real practices, that's when they stop coming back.
Yeah. So, the kids that are there, some of them are new, You know, it's their first year. They're you know they're hanging on. The ones that are there now
Yeah.
are hanging. You know, and it's like nights like kind of like tonight that are a little frustrating because we don't have the volume of kids. And so when
Right.
you're going up in duels, you know, it's frustrating because we can't, you know, we don't have the numbers to win, you know. And I feel like the
Right.
kids that were there tonight competed, you know, they competed great. You know, I think if we had more kids, then I think it would have been a different story, you know. But for the most part, you know, it's kind of funny because you know at the shop, um, you know, I'll be cutting hair, and now it's like, you know, since Jacob, you know, is doing pretty well this year, you know, everybody's like, how's Jacob doing? You know, his wrestling is starting to become the topic at the barbershop, you know. And it's not
Nice. I
basketball.
love
It's
it.
not basketball anymore so much. Now it's like wrestling. Like, hey, how's your son? I heard he got first place last week. You know, and now it's starting to become like people become a little bit more interested about it. You know, so it's about spreading the word and getting more people, you know, involved in it. And some of the kids that come from Ridgeland, I don't think Ridgeland has a wrestling program.
They do
So
not.
yeah, so you know, it's just hopefully this movement will allow, you know, to maybe open up that door. You know.
I hope so. I mean, hopefully this podcast, this show will help kind of expose people to what's out there and the possibilities. Because I mean, and I'll let you, Coach Hagan, kind of get through your journey here too, and reflect on something that I've said to a lot of people over the years when I'm talking to them. Lons, you and I both come from baseball, coaching baseball, and you know we all believe in multiple sports. I think wrestling is a tremendous cross training sport for whatever you do because the balance and the hand eye and everything that comes with it is going to carry over to whatever sport you go into. And the hand fighting, you know, I mean, for offensive linemen, defensive linemen, like if you're not wrestling, if you're not playing basketball, you should be wrestling, hands down. And then the other thing that I think gets overlooked about it a lot is there's nobody to blame, man. If you're an excuse maker, you go out on that wrestling mat, it is hand to hand combat, one on one, and somebody wins and somebody loses. And you got to kind of face facts, you know, and ask yourself, like, did I really give everything I had? And, you know, team sports don't always lend you that opportunity to be kind of isolated and have your effort on display, on full display. And I think it allows some kids to dig deep and find something inside themselves they didn't know they had. And for others, it can be very humbling when they need that too. So, Coach, just tell us a little bit about how you got into the sport, your journey through it, and reflect on that a little bit as far as wrestling being kind of whatever you need it to be.
All right. So I started off wrestling in Savannah for Team Savannah. I wrestled at Benedictine Military School in high school.
Oh, yeah. Very good program.
Yeah. I tried it for a couple of weeks in college, blew up my knee a couple times, and I was like, all right. And then I came back to it, started up a program 3 years ago at Bridges Prep where I actually teach. I'd like to thank the board and the CEO there for making this happen. And also Pat Bolware for letting us borrow his mat for a couple months. It was a little stinky, but hey, it worked.
It takes a village, brother.
Hey, this is an extremely well-knit community. I can't say I've met a coach around this area that I don't like. We really came together last year when one of our wrestlers passed away tragically, and like it was crazy how many like people came out and reached out to the community to like check on us. And I know John Paul sent us a letter, and we really appreciate that. But we've come a long way in the past 3 years. Just middle school, we had like 6 guys our first year. This year, we almost have a full duels team for our middle school. High school's come a long way. We kind of had a little revenge match going on tonight with Bamberg. Yeah, last season, we had a lot of guys out for our region championship match, and it got down to the tiebreaker. And I know my fellow coaches in here know how the tiebreaker rule goes. Underdog always loses because it goes by who has the least amount of forfeits wins. So I was a little we had a little chip on our shoulder tonight. So, but we've
well,
come
you
along.
got the dub tonight. I've got the scores now from tonight scrolling across the bottom. But
pesky Golden Warriors, though, had us.
Couldn't get the Golden Warriors.
Guys, man. It's hard to find tough small guys, you know?
It is. It is. In fact, we had a kid on our middle school. He's really good. He's a little hammer at 96. And They're talking about pulling him up to the Bluffton JV, and we said, dude, nobody's got a 106 JV. And if they do, he's not going to be any good. Like, most people don't have a 106. Nobody has a 106 JV. So
Yeah,
you need to stay at middle school. But
yeah, we had a
but
106. He got some kind of skin condition going on. He had to sit out. So, but
yeah, that's no good with wrestling. Yeah, it happens. But and you've got a couple that have been banged up too. So you're not at full strength at the moment. But
I don't even want to talk about it. We got like 5 kids banged up, 3 starting varsity guys, a couple guys on middle school. But hey, it's the sport. You got to fight through it. Next man up.
That's right. Well, Coach Lons, you guys did sweep the night tonight. You got all 3 dubs. As you mentioned, Coach Hagan, it came down to the end there, the last match of the night, and you were able to pull it off, JP2. So, Coach Lons, tell us a little bit about your background on the sport. Obviously, you slid in there with Coach Demude. He's been there for a while, got the program going, and he's your right-hand man now. You guys switched seats. Which has got to be a great asset to have. What a tremendous coach and person he is. But talk a little bit about your guys tonight and the effort to get a win over a great Bridges team, as well as Bamberg, and take out those Carlton Prep Thomas Hayward dynamic duo team. I love how you guys are teaming up, by the way. It's great.
Yeah, it was just something that just happened at the beginning. It was kind of weird how it happened, but we're taking it on. Man. Whatever guys we can get, we're
that's right. They're rallying around it. But yeah, Lons, you guys are rolling.
Yeah, we're doing all right. First off, thank you for all the promo you do for this sport that we love. Without your vision for growing it, I always knew historically that wrestling just doesn't get the same type of press as, say, other, bigger venue sports. So that's huge. And I know that our kids like, just hearing about all the, press releases that y'all put out. To the guys that are on the show right now, and, Justin, you and Wes, again, like I said, thank you for that, for all your coverage. And with, Thomas Hayward and Bridges, I can't say enough. I know I've been there, Jason, as far as having low numbers. Growing up I was in Northwest Ohio. We had small numbers for duels, but we were hammers when it came to, tournament time. So we'd run with about 5-6 hammers, and so dual meets were harder, and really coming around. And
thank you.
I always enjoy, you and I think it's easy, we're competitive. And at the same point in time, it's a congenial, I should say, if that's the word to use, but I think it's just good. Your program's right step. I like how you say you have 20 guys for middle school. Well, that's hopefully what our goal will be. We got 6 at middle school. We started, like you said, they drop like flies sometimes. We had about 35 to start for varsity beginning of the year. And I think we're down to about 27, 28. A lot of guys that are, either I had 2 guys go out this week that were starters, and a couple sick guys. But that's just
a lot of that going around.
Yeah. It's like we don't have enough ice bags in the wrestling room, which drives me nuts.
Well, and now you got the sickness going around, and once that gets in the room, everybody's getting it. It's just a matter of time. You better, unless you got the really good immunity, you're gonna get it.
Yeah,
because everybody's rolling around on the same piece of mat.
Yeah.
You can't do it often enough. I came home from practice today and just hosed down. But no, McCracken, we've got pretty good numbers at McCracken. I think we're like 17 or 18. About 6 of them are the same weight, of course, but they all kind of cluster in that 175 range. But we've got quite a few kids who are pretty devoted to it. A couple who have already been working out at Reverence and have some skills under their belt, and a bunch that we're kind of having to start at square one, which I think has been one of the difficulties in kind of getting the sport to a higher level in the area. Is we've always had a handful of elite kids come through who found the path, but then how do you develop those kids to their potential while also bringing along the kids that you have to bring along to be successful as a program, who come to it in middle school or high school and have never touched the sport. And I think that's been one of the tricky things. But and that's why I think Reverence coming in, and they are the presenting sponsor of this show, Reverence Wrestling Club, has really elevated it, because you're getting really professional coaching at a young age, which has been the missing link here. I mean, most of us grew up in, Alex, you're a Southern guy, so there wasn't quite as much, grassroots stuff happening. But for Greg and I in Ohio and Kansas, you had the high school program was running a youth program and teaching the same stuff from like age 5 all the way up. And we haven't really had that here. And we still don't necessarily have that here, but now we have somebody who's an outlet for the kids who want to dive into it and really get better, get the mat time, get the technique. And we're starting to see that ceiling raised, I think. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Jacob actually went yesterday. He started going last year, but with football and all kind of different stuff, he had a pause. But now that wrestling season is back on, he went yesterday, and he thought he knew wrestling. And man, they showed him a few moves. I mean, the whole class was just being technical, and he learned so much, though. It's just that 1 hour, hour and a half, whatever it is they take.
Now you compound that 3 or 5 times a week for months on end, and you got something, right?
Now he's like, Dad, I'm going back tomorrow, right? I'm like, yeah, we're fine, so it's gonna be fun to watch. I feel like he has the strength already, but it's that he just lacks a little bit in the technical area. And I think if he just, with time, he's only an 8th grader. So
here's the thing, though: you can't teach instincts. That you either have them or you don't. He's got good hips. He's got great instincts, and the technical part is that takes time. I mean, it takes reps, drills and drills and drills, and that's what Blake came into our room today at McCracken and kind of led practice today, which is great. It looked like what I remember a wrestling practice looking like. I mean, we got after it. It was very technical. We were talking about where your body positioning needs to be and all that stuff. And when he talks, the kids listen, man. He's got a way of captivating them, and they bought in, and our kids got better in a short time today. It was really great.
That's really cool to see the quick development, but it certainly is a challenge to treat and coach these students, kids at all these different skill levels. When you're trying to, like we said, develop your best talent to try to keep improving them and to get them ready for potential success ahead, but you're also trying to establish that ground for those newer athletes and especially those who have dabbled in different sports. So just to elaborate on how important it is to see, not just you'd love to see people from different sports come in and if they find success to go full on into wrestling, but just tell me about how important it is for athletes in all sports, focused on wrestling or focused on another primary sport, to get the training and get the conditioning that it requires to be a strong wrestler and to continue to help yourself achieve your goals in whatever your primary sport is.
I'll go first and say we don't have a football team yet, but wish we did. We don't have a weight room.
But when Macy gets it together and gets you one,
Macy's doing a great job. I'm glad he's
when he pulls it together and gets you a football team, which I'm sure he's working on, you'll have some offensive linemen for him.
I got the soccer coach talking to me. He's like, hey, make sure they don't get hurt while they're out there.
Yeah.
It can happen. It can happen. It has happened. We lost one this week at McCracken.
I definitely think
brace
it goes hand in hand.
Yeah,
it goes hand in hand. The whole multi-sport athlete. Justin, as with the baseball background, if you play baseball 12 months out of the year, the overuse issues. It's the same thing for all sports. I think it, not only that, it just works different body parts, different muscles. And I think it reduces that aspect of burnout, or lag, or what do you want to call it? Laziness, and repetitions when you're lazy aren't good. So, or tired. And I know I have probably 7 or 8 guys new that are either from football, soccer, baseball backgrounds. And it's been pretty interesting talking just about, the positioning, the stance. You talk about offensive linemen needing to have good footwork, good handwork. And same thing goes with, some of the guys that are safeties, they're saying, hey, I can be a better tackler next year. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I said, all you need to do is learn a double leg. Yeah. Double leg. Just do that all the way.
That's all.
Just blast them with a double leg
and pull them down.
Just blast them with a double leg and put them on their back, man. I mean, work up to a half.
Jordan Burroughs used it. That's all he does, right? So
work up the body to a half. You're good. That's all you need. I'm convinced about 75% of high school matches or middle school matches, at least, maybe high school too, in South Carolina could be won with a half. We're getting there. We're getting there, but we miss a lot of half opportunities.
I had a guy throw a cowboy tonight, and I was like, "Wow, you remember that move?"
That's you're getting up there now, Coach. You're getting advanced. We're still working on head on the outside on a double.
Hey, it works. That's a bread and butter right there.
Yeah. Oh man. We're still working on getting some of the different things drilled into them. But, one resource that we have now that we didn't have when we were coming up is you can go on YouTube and watch professionals like drilling moves. Like we had to cling to that one Dan Gable video we had from 1984, pop it in the VCR. Yeah. Watch him hit those low singles, they can go on YouTube now and watch anybody drilling anything.
I think it's a good thing and a bad thing. I got kids trying to throw some crazy stuff during the match.
That's true.
I didn't teach you that. What is that?
That's true. My boy Charles did hit some kind of crazy back heel trip hip toss the other day that he didn't have any business doing, but he hit it, man. It was, pretty nice.
Or whatever it's called, Russian wrist snap or whatever, all that crazy stuff.
I saw it on YouTube, Coach. That's good stuff. Well, I want to shout out formally our presenting sponsor for this show, Reverence Wrestling Club. We've been talking about them, but Reverence Wrestling Club here in Bluffton, tremendous place for anybody who is interested in the sport. I know right now they're running some specials. They're giving 2 classes for free, introductory classes to see if it's for you, which is really a great deal for somebody who's not sure. But they've got some great packages going on where you can get in there and get as much mat time as you want. So if you're looking to take your wrestling game, that doesn't sound right, to the next level. We tell kids they're not games, they're matches. If you want to take your wrestling skills to the next level,
that's what
you need to get into Reverence Wrestling Club. Blake and his team are doing a great job over there and supporting local wrestling and our coverage of it. So we appreciate them. But talk a little bit, guys, about your hammers tonight and throughout the season. Obviously, Alfonso, your guy Jacob has been a hammer. Carter Sims for Carleton Prep has been a hammer. How about for you guys? Hagan, I know Jeremiah Chavez is a monster, and he had a heck of a match tonight against Jamie Downing, who is one whale of a football player and wrestled a hell of a match against him.
Yeah. We also have Kevin Summers. He's undefeated.
Yeah.
He went to Carolina Invitational his first year wrestling, and he didn't place, but he hit the gym over the summer. I promise you that.
He is super athletic and super strong.
Yeah, it took a couple of years to teach him to quit reaching back because he's the kind of guy he's just strong enough to just hook that head, just pull him over, and I'm like, okay, I'll let it go this time, but
it works until they know what they're doing. Yeah, it works till they know what they're doing, and then you're in trouble.
I got a lot I got to praise all my guys for the most part, but those guys stand out a lot.
Hey, showing up to practice every day is deserving of praise.
And making it weight.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's happening there.
Dorius Jackson had a good night tonight. I don't know his first name.
Oh, Byron Douglas Jackson.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Douglas. That's what they said. Douglas
Yeah,
Jackson. I
great.
couldn't read the handwriting on the.
Him
on the
and
scoreboard.
Chavez are our team captains.
Yeah.
Chavez did go to Fargo last year, but he had a family emergency, had to leave. Stump. He woke up at like 2 a.m. to drive all the way up there. Man.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's rough. That's rough. That's a long haul at Fargo.
He got first
You
and
can't get there from here.
He got first in freestyle and Greco last year. Tried to pull a triple crown, but couldn't pull it off in folk style.
Man, that's awesome.
He beat
Lawrence,
but then lost.
Lawrence, who are some of your best guys?
Probably leading the way is Daniel Snyder, our 32-pounder. He's hammer. He's got some funk in him. Sometimes it drives me nuts to see some of the things he does, but he's got that, which is, keeps you young. He's got a lot of athleticism and just grit. He's doing pretty well. I think he's 11-1 on the season. So he's knocking it out. Brandon Horton's been doing really well. Our 75. We got a couple guys going to bounce around weight classes after the new year. They're going to probably drop a little bit, which, he's wrestling 75 at about 163 pounds, 164 pounds. So there's a couple of our guys that are hitting it well. And we got a lot of young guys. Our 38-pounder today, he came in. He was a first-year wrestler, and he got 3 pins tonight. He's a Jackson Riley. He's
baseball guy.
Yeah, a 3-sport athlete. He was in basketball last year, and somehow I don't know if it was Coach Milligan was able to convince him to come on over to wrestling, which was a blessing for us. He's just kind of got that cerebral sense.
Yeah.
Put him to half.
No, he's a really smart kid, and he's a classic case of a baseball kid having the right mentality. Like he gets in there, grinds out at bats and stuff. So, and he's a catcher. So that's the kind of guy who makes an easy transition to wrestling.
Yeah. So we have a couple other guys. I know Chris Orther, he's a senior, and he stepped up leadership wise, and again, he's also a guy I'll probably drop down 75 once the new year comes. And we had a lot of guys that have been bumping up. I mean, my 215-pounder weighs 179. And he's got 3
That's Renzo.
Yeah, Renzo.
His new weight class.
Yeah, he won first place when he got to wrestle his own weight class.
Right. And I think that match he wrestled the guy from Buford and was on his back, and we call it the Renzo because he went from his back, putting the other guy on his back, and I don't even know what moves. Maybe he's out watching TikTok more than he's, but he's a hard worker, and he does whatever we ask him to do. Hey Renzo, you ready to go up to 215? Sure, coach. Just let me know when I can go down. And yeah, it's just fun. I think the best part is watching the newbies win.
Yeah, I love it, man.
13-pounder was yes sir, no sir, and just do whatever it takes. And
it's been especially getting that first pin and the excitement that comes with that, and man, the adrenaline rush, nothing like it at all. So it's fantastic, and the rewards are plentiful. So for adults, for parents, for children, high school age students, maybe some middle school students who are tuned in, watching, listening to this podcast, tell me some selling points that make wrestling a fantastic sport for these young boys and girls, and for these parents to send them to this discipline and the benefits of it as coaches.
Gotta go.
Yeah.
I think it really starts. Sorry, I'm trying to talk a lot. Right.
No, you're good.
I mean, it's really like some of the kids have been holding their parents' hand for a long time. Not saying that my guys are, but it takes away that. It makes them. It's just them versus the other man on the other side of the mat. They learn that discipline, and it comes with it, and it's going to happen no matter what. If you win or lose, you're going to learn that you got to fight through things to get what you want, and wrestling gives you that. Gives you that adversity. Take on anything in life, pretty much. And I think everybody can agree with me here.
I think Jacob is has taught me discipline. I mean, he'll get out of practice, and I'm like, he's like, Dad, let's go, because we have a gym in the garage, and he's like, come on, let's go lift, let's go bench. I'm like, man, you aren't tired from practice, bro? I'm tired from work. He's like, come on, you gotta spot me, So I'm out there in the garage helping him, lift bench or whatever. So it does teach him to be different.
Coach Gerhardt from McCracken, tons of confidence. Yeah, that's absolutely right. The first time, especially smaller guys, man, if you're a little guy and you've always had to play against kids bigger than you because you're small for your age, that first time you get to fight somebody your size and you dominate them, you're like, oh, hey, I'm pretty tough. And there's something that comes out of that. And then the first time some bully tries to pick on you and you throw a headlock on him and you got him down on the ground, like, you ever gonna mess with me again? Yeah, wrestling's a great sport.
Well, that's interesting too. With Reverence, when you go to Reverence and they go live,
yeah,
when they say next, you don't know who your next is going to be. It could be a heavyweight, and you're lightweight.
yeah.
So it's just that it teaches them, man. Like it could be, you whoever weight you got, that's how you have to wrestle. You have to go live with that person. So it teaches you when you go back down to your weight bracket.
Yeah.
It simplifies it a little bit.
Yeah, dude. My sophomore year in high school, I didn't even have to cut weight to make 130. I was just a comfortable 130. There was a state champ at 125, so I wasn't going down there. And and I had battles with my teammate at 130, but I lost one week and our 145 got hurt. So I had to bump up to 145. So I had to weigh over 135 so I could be weighed in at 140 so I could bump to 145. So I had to like gain like 4 pounds the night before weigh in. And then of course just lost it all as soon as I went to the bathroom. Meanwhile, homie comes in cut down from like 160 to 145 and just mauls me. But I got teched. I didn't get pinned. I got a hero's welcome back to the bench because I got us a point, baby. I got us a point. You think that doesn't make you tougher? Going up against a dude who's, for all intents and purposes, you're giving up 30 pounds by the time you wrestle. Because we weighed in at like 7 o'clock in the morning and wrestled in the evening. So I just got absolutely hammered. But, man, I fought. It's not going to be pinned. And that's the kind of thing that to me teaches you more than winning, is just understanding that you got more in you than you could possibly understand. When you really put your mind to it to not be defeated. And so, no, I think it's the ultimate sport for me. But hey, guys, we're going to shift gears and talk a little MMA. You guys are welcome to hang around or get on to bed if you need to. But we got Carlo Perusa coming in momentarily to talk MMA. You guys need a piece?
I'm good. Have a good night, guys.
I'm going to head out too.
Appreciate you. Early tomorrow.
All right. Appreciate you, fellas. We'll talk soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care. All right. We're getting them all out of here. And we're going to bring in the fight doctor, Carlo Perusa. What's up, baby? Carlo, you've been living the MMA life for a while now. Congratulations, first of all, on your EDD, your Doctor of Education in Leadership. Outstanding work. We won't tell them what happened afterwards, but Carlo had an absent-minded moment afterwards. But it's all good. He's got a new phone. But Carlo, tell us what you've been up to, man, and tell us, especially through the lens of the growth of MMA is pretty apparent. I mean, the sport has really taken the world by storm in the last few years and started to blow up. But you've been really diving into more of the regional scene and covering a lot of events in the Southeast. And even some here in our backyard. So tell us a little bit about the local scene and kind of what's happening out there with the Foundry, with Riptide, with the Conflict. I forget what it's called, but you're covering a lot of different organizations, and there's a lot going on in this region.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that within Beaufort County area, Beaufort County, Charleston, Savannah, it's quite the mixed martial arts community. I mean, there's not too many gyms, but in Beaufort County alone, there's 2 of them with Riptide MMA with John, and then obviously the Foundry with Abe Stem over there. Then you go into Savannah, they got Icebox MMA, and names aren't coming to me right now, but they have a couple other gyms just in the Savannah area. and surrounding parts. And then you go up to Charleston. Charleston has several gyms, whether it be martial arts, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai. I mean, they have a lot. And then even, upstate, Columbia area, Greenville, they all have their own gyms. They all, and what's cool, I guess you could say, like, so mixed martial arts, it's a little different than, I guess you would say, the high school wrestling route, because they don't represent schools, but it's still kind of very similar in the sense that while MMA is like wrestling, a very individualized sport, they're teams. You have
Right.
teammates, and you go to these different shows, and the main ones in our area, there's two right now. Conflict MMA, which is run by Jared Williams, that has been around, I want to say, for about 15 years now. And you see a lot of guys from the area start off as amateurs or even pros. They fight there, and there's been some UFC guys, some BKFC world champion, Arnold Adams, former champion. He used to fight Conflict MMA. I mean, so you do see guys get out there and go on the bigger shows, but it's cool. I've covered a couple of those in the last month, and most recently I did one a couple weeks ago in Charleston. But it's just cool because you'll have teams from all over the area come. The Foundry fights there. Riptide has fought for those events. Icebox MMA in Savannah was there. You had Upstate Karate from Greenville. You had TNT Martial Arts from Columbia come. So, I mean, it's like all over the place. You have all these different local gyms meeting to do battle for a night. And what's cool too is you get to see the fighters. Obviously, they're focused on their competition, but their teammates are fighting. Some of these
Right.
gyms might have 4 or 5 fighters fighting on the night.
Hmm.
So
It's
it's
really
interesting.
cool. It's really cool to see, these top tier and elite fighters come down to this area and compete in front of large crowds. It's really cool to see sport on the rise, and you've been at the center of it. You are called the fight doctor, by the way, and have been certainly, catching up with a couple big names. So just tell me about your adventures over these last few months with these MMA fighting matches.
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing. So in the past, let's see here, the past 2 months, I've done 4 different events, um, 2 conflict MMAs, which were all outstanding. First one I did was over in Savannah. One of my good buddies, Malcolm Wellmaker, he found the main event. He won. I actually met him through Jorge Masvidal's promotions. He used to fight for them. He fought for them twice. Their Icon, which is their regional show, and he's now a 6-7-0 fighter, and probably a fight or two away from the UFC. That was
Oh,
an awesome card. What I like about the conflict cards is it's a mixture of everything. They have some youth contests. There were like 15-year-old, 16-year-old kids doing jiu-jitsu matches and stuff to start off the night. Then you get into your amateurs, and it was broken down from amateur mixed martial arts, amateur Muay Thai, and even amateur jiu-jitsu. So you see a little bit of everything. And then they had 5 pro fights on there. It was a combination of kickboxing and mixed martial arts. So those shows are really nice because you get a little bit of everything. If you're not a huge MMA fan, well, there's your kickboxing. If you're not huge
Mhm.
kickboxing, well, you have Muay Thai or Jiu-Jitsu.
yeah.
So it's a good combination. In addition to those, the Foundry, Abe over there, he puts on the Buford Brawls. He's done 3 of them in the last year, and every single one just seems to get better and better and better.
Yeah,
Um,
I got to check out one of those with you sometime, man. That sounds fun.
Ooh,
oh
that
man,
sounds like a blast.
I tell you, the last one was really amazing. Um, a lot of stars in the house on this one. It was kind of crazy. So,
Nice.
um, they had probably about 5 or 6 gyms representing. I know there's some from Savannah there. North Carolina was
Coach
there.
Hagan, he left us, but he's still watching. He says 2 of his guys competed in wrestling in a cage in the last one.
Hey, there
2
you
of his
go.
high
Yeah.
school guys. Nice.
So, and then there was Upstate Karate came from Greenville, and that is a very well-known, well-respected, and even famous gym, if you will. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who's fighting this weekend in the UFC veteran from Simpsonville, South Carolina. Him and his dad actually own that gym. So,
Okay.
Wonder Boy was down here. He was at the event. So I was able to interview him and everything. And another guy who's in the UFC from that gym, Weston Wilson, who's fighting in January, he was down there cornering the guys. And I think they had 3 students in total. And one of their 3 students was Gabriel Basso, the night agent. So the Netflix show, The Night Agent, yeah, the main character was fighting
Nice.
an amateur kickboxing contest, and it
In
was
Buford. That's
in
wild,
Buford.
man.
I know it was absolutely crazy. I mean,
See,
it's crazy.
this is why we need a show for this, because like nobody knows this stuff is going on. I mean, a handful of people do, but nobody outside of kind of that community really knows what's happening. So this is why we bring in the fight doctor to tell us about all the stars who come out to the Buford Fight Club. I love
Yeah,
it.
no, that one was actually crazy. Like I was telling Abe, I was like, "Abe, this is ridiculous," and he had a big smile on his face. He was pretty happy about the whole situation. It was really funny. So, I interviewed Gabe before he fought, and then after he fought, I went in the locker room, and he's there with Stephen Thompson and Ray Thompson, his dad, and he's out of breath. He's just gone into a 3-round dog fight with the dude, and I'm with my camera guy Chase. We're setting up. All of a sudden a cop walks in. And I was like, "Hey, what's up?" He's like, "You good?" I was like, "Yeah. What you need?" And he's like, "Well, I got set in here because the EMS ladies are freaking out, saying that Gabe is so hot and they want pictures, so they sent me back here." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know what you want me to do about it, but
Uh,
we got a good laugh about the situation." But
Well, I'm
yeah,
glad our
no,
police officers are protecting and serving the ladies at the wanted pictures of
oh my
the
god.
movie star. But no, you've gotten to do a bunch of cool interviews, and I got to sit in and produce a couple of times when you interviewed John Morgan, big fight
that was a good one.
announcer, and you've
Hmm.
been able to connect with a lot of people through your connection with Jorge Masvidal, and been able to go out and cover some of his Game Bread events. So you're getting introduced to some up and comers. Anybody come from kind of like this region that kind of has your eye? I know you mentioned a couple guys who crossed over from wrestling, and I know you've, as we talk about wrestling on the show, I know you interviewed a couple of big names from Penn State.
Nice.
Yeah, no, for sure. So let's tackle on the from this region, especially there are a couple. Um, from the Georgia region, especially, I mentioned him earlier, Malcolm Wellmaker. He's a 6-0 guy. He's fighting in Atlanta, January 20th against Chase Boutwell. If he wins, he'll be a 7-0. And I mean, he's putting out guys in phenomenal fashion. I mean, I saw him fight for the first time last August of 2022 in Savannah. First time Jorge Masvidal brought Icon FC there. He fought this guy, Langston Sykes, who I believe is from Savannah. And Malcolm knocked him out with the left in the first round, like 2 minutes. I mean, knocked him out cold, bad. And he jumps over the cage. Actually, no, he was from Miami. He wasn't from Savannah, that guy, but knocked him out, jumped over the cage. And I've never seen anything like this, but like Jorge was so impressed. He went into his little book bag, pulled out $1,000 cash, gave it to Malcolm, and Malcolm has no idea what to do with it. I mean, he's literally in the cage with $1,000 cash in his hand, so he's like
Well,
shuffling
nobody's
in
going to
his
try to
shorts.
take it off of him after they just saw that.
No, so that guy definitely Malcolm is a very talented athlete. He definitely has a future. UFC, 28-year-old guy, working a full-time job as a welder. I mean, working crazy
Wow.
hours and training every single day, finding out Fagalier's MMA in Augusta. He's one to watch for. Second guy from this area that's to watch for, from Macon, Georgia, Torres Finney. Torres was a state championship wrestler in Georgia. People used to like line up, pack out the Macon Coliseum to watch him in the state finals in wrestling. I know he was a football player, played football at University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. Um, Another guy that I met the same night as Malcolm fought on Jorge's card. And he was on the Dana White Contender Series a couple months
Huh.
ago. So if you don't really know what the Contender Series is, Contender Series is kind of an audition to be able
Yeah, it's like
to
the
go
minor
to the
leagues.
Minor
UFC.
league
You
show.
It
triple A
kind
with
of,
UFC, sort of like
kind
a
of
cup
sort.
of
It's more
coffee.
like a reality show, if you will. So if you
Yeah,
go on the
yeah, yeah.
Contender Series, you get a fight. If you win the fight, all the winners of the night go in the back. Dana White comes and they'll be like, "Okay, of the 6 winners, I'm going to get 4 contracts." And then they get signed to the UFC. So
So it's just a
coming in,
made for TV, yeah, just
Right.
like
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
a
reality
kind of
show kind
a
of thing.
manufactured drama thing, but it's still a good
yeah, it's a good
opportunity
opportunity.
to
Yeah,
play your way in, so to speak.
it's an avenue to get into the UFC for sure.
Yeah.
And coming into the fight, Torres was 6-0. He won. submitted this guy in the second round. Bit of a rocky first round, but he turned it on in the second. Proved to 7-0. Unfortunately, he didn't get the contract just yet. This kid is 24 years old. He fights at 185, but you would swear you think he's 240. I mean, just ripped. Like, I mean, there's no fat on this kid. I mean, he is a truck. And his wrestling shows, I mean, the way he can pick up and slam guys and finish them off of ground and pound, I mean, it is something absolutely special.
Yeah.
So he's going to probably take some more fights. He'll be back. That guy, Dana White, even said, he's like, if I let you in now, I am hurting you because you're so young. You have the skills. You just need to, fine tweak some things, get some more experience, and you'll be back here. So, those are two of the ones that I've become pretty close with. So it's really cool to see them do well. So I think from the Georgia area, definitely they're going to find their way in the UFC. And then, doing the stuff with Jorge, it started with Icon as those regional shows, right? And it's evolved now even more. In September in Jacksonville and last month in Biloxi, I was able to do his game bred bare knuckle MMA. And a little different. This is no gloves. Still mixed
Yeah.
martial arts, but there's no gloves. I mean, as Jorge says, the most violent show on earth. And it's interesting, man. What's awesome about it is like, the icon stuff was great. You had up and coming guys. You had some guys who maybe have had a couple fights in the UFC. His bare knuckle shows, I mean, they're headlined by UFC legends and Hall of Famers. I mean, the first one I did in Jacksonville was headlined by Junior Dos Santos and Fabricio Verdun. Both had the UFC World Heavyweight Championship. And
Wow.
the last one was Roy Big Country Nelson and Alan Belcher, two former UFC greats. The card last time was stacked. 12 former UFC veterans on the card. And it's just amazing to be around those high level guys. And one of the things people like still don't really understand about the sport is they think it's like this free for all, this barbaric thing. And every single one of these guys, especially at that level, who have fought in the UFC and fought in the bigger shows, the level of professionalism is just simply unreal. They handle
Yeah.
themselves. They're there. Obviously, they're going to fight, and they're fighting a bare knuckle fist fight, if you will. But at the same time, they conduct themselves in a very professional manner. The promotion, Jorge Masvidal, Dean Toole, the two main promoters there, they are unbelievable. I mean, they treat these guys like fighters. They don't treat them as profit margins. They treat them as
Yeah.
people. Obviously, Jorge Masvidal having a huge career in the UFC, 20 years as a professional fighter. He's discovered things he likes. He discovered things he don't like about promotions, and that's how he wants to use what he likes to benefit the fighters that fight for him, and it's definitely really shown. And then through his promotions, I'll never forget this one. To get back to your Penn State connection,
Oh
you're
yeah,
trying to make me have here. Last Orlando. I went down to, Orlando. Last
yeah.
December,
That's
I
Orlando.
went down to Orlando, Florida, and I covered one of their icon events. And one of the big draws of the card was the pro MMA debut of Anthony Cassar. So Anthony Cassar, if
Oh
any of you
yeah.
wrestle heads are familiar with, the only one to beat Gable Stevenson, actually beat him twice. So in
Yeah.
2019, he knocked off Gable at the conference championship to win that, and then he beat him in the semifinals of the NCAA championship, and he won the NCAA championship. Probably would have been in the Olympics. However, had to take some time off. He got hurt, and that set back his Olympic career. But I got to interview and interact with one of his teammates who was in the Olympics, Mr. Bo Nickel.
Yeah.
So
That's
those
that's
were, I
really cool
mean,
stuff.
Bo Nickel is a
yeah.
bad
Oh,
dude.
Nick. Ooh. His name just sounds like someone that could do
Yeah, no,
something.
he's as
Oh,
bad as
he's
he sounds. He's a bad
And
dude.
he's really looking pretty good in the UFC. His last fight kind of disappointing. Not really much like his performance. He won by knockout. Um, had an opponent change 7 days out. That's always difficult for
That's
a
janky. Yeah.
bow.
Yeah.
Difficult for the guy stepping up, not having a full training camp. But I mean, his striking. A lot of people, obviously his wrestling's world class. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
go around that. And a lot of people are concerned about his striking, but I mean, it's looking like he's making a lot of improvements. He trains down at American Top Team outside of Miami. Have wonderful guys fighting out there, wonderful coaches, and he's looking like a really good fighter who's got a chance to win a belt here in the next year or two. And it's crazy. I mean, now back to what you guys were talking earlier, the importance of wrestling. When you think about mixed martial arts is not just one skill set. I mean, you have
Right.
your striking, you can use wrestling, jiu-jitsu, sambo, so
Yeah.
many different things. But it's important for guys to have a base. And
Yeah.
predominantly what you see is you see a lot of guys with a jiu-jitsu base,
Yep.
or you see them have a wrestling base.
Yep.
Because MMA has evolved to the point, 20 years ago, if you were
Which
like,
are essentially the same thing, really. I mean, jujitsu and
yeah,
wrestling are very similar. It's just the scoring is different. Like that's really only the difference. How you win is different. But I mean, we have kids even at the middle school level who are coming from jujitsu, and they're light years ahead of other kids who haven't wrestled before because they just understand
right.
their body and leverage and those things. But yeah, no, you're right. Jiu-jitsu and wrestling make great basis for that stuff because you can just control the body and be able to get in good positions. That's the name of the game in wrestling.
Right.
So if you can get yourself in advantageous positions, you're going to be in good shape. Well, hey man, we appreciate you hopping on, and we will make it a regular thing to hear from the fight doctor to keep us abreast of what's happening in the Loco MMA community as well as beyond. And Hilton Head has a rich boxing tradition too. I mean, Joe Frazier's from Buford, obviously.
Yep.
Sugar Ray Leonard trained on Hilton Head back in the '80s when he was fighting Lennox Lewis, or when he was fighting Hagler. Lennox Lewis trained here in the '90s. I forget who he was facing. I think he was going to fight Riddick Bowe, and then like he didn't end up fighting or something. But like it's been a place that people have come to train, and we've had some boxers come out of this area. So that the boxing's kind of got in the way of the buffalo, but MMA seems to have slid into that spot and be dominating a lot of the airwaves and stuff like that as far as combat sports go. So we are excited to have the fight doctor in our corner to keep us posted on what's happening, man. So congrats again on the degree, and we'll talk real soon.
I apologize. Thank you.
That's the fight doctor, Carlo Perusa, my first student, one of my first student interns back at USCB, our first college intern here at Loco Sports, and doing big things.
He has
And
come a long, long way. So
sure has.
proud
The
of
guy
everything
knows
that
his
he's doing.
MMA, doesn't he?
Yeah, he is on top of it. He knows
He knows
the
it
book on
cold.
everything that's going on here in the Low Country and beyond. So grateful to have a guy like that to literally and figuratively in our corner. I love local
Yeah, I
expression
know.
tools.
I came up with that one on the fly. I was pretty proud. But we did want to shout out some hammers of the week, and uh, first I do want to shout out some sponsors as well. Starting, of course, with our MVP sponsors, including my wife Megan Jarrett, the official realtor of Loco Sports, as well as Homegrown Home Inspections, our official home inspector of Loco Sports. My guy, Jan Lucas, will take care of you over there. Mickelson Law Firm, the official real estate closing attorneys of Loco Sports, and hospice care of the Low Country, where it's not about dying, it's about living, as well as our varsity sponsors, DDS Web Design and Parker Law Group. DDS Web Design can help you build, maintain, and optimize your website so that you can get more business online. Parker Law Group, serving all your legal needs. The Loco Booster Club, Court Lifestyle Pros, Barefoot Floor Care of the Low Country, Prime IV Hydration and Wellness, Rooted Living Wellness, Eagle Creations, and Jay's Barbershop. Shout out to Jay for joining us tonight to talk about Thomas Hayward Wrestling and just the appreciation he's developed for the sport by watching his son get out there and get after it. It's an awesome thing. When you buy into it, you really go all into it. It's not for everyone, but if it's for you, you get way into it, and hopefully
It's
we
a
can
very
help more
worthwhile
people
investment.
find their way to it. Yeah.
It really
Yeah,
is.
I'm looking forward to bringing you along more, bringing you to a match with me and letting you hang out. Maybe you can come out Saturday. We got everybody in the area pretty much is going to be in one place over at Hilton Head. We got the Low Country Invitational,
love that.
middle school, JV and varsity, boys and girls. So really, I mean, just about everyone I think in the area is going to be on hand for that one. So gonna be really cool to see the kids match up, and I'll get to go out there and coach
Yeah,
the
when we
Bulldogs.
get to see
So that'll be fun.
everybody, we get to see everybody at one spot. That's a dream for us here at Loco Sports, be able to catch everybody in one event like that. And that's a tournament, an event that has continued to showcase some top schools from here, and also some teams from elsewhere that have come in before for this tournament. So should get a nice little early season viewing of who's going to stack up ahead of the rest, and right near my home. So it works
Yeah,
out
right
well for
around the
me to
corner.
come over and watch some wrestling right here on the island. So we got Hilton Head Low Country Championship, and we got the big one at May River in a couple of weeks, the Shark Invitational. So it's a fun time to see a lot of wrestling here during the holidays.
It for sure is. It's really the best time in a lot
Yep.
of ways, because you get a lot of tournament, like 2-day tournament stuff, and things where you get to see some really good matchups. Sometimes in a duel match, you might only get 2 or 3 really good matchups over
Yeah.
the course of a duel. It'll be a lot of pins, handful of forfeits, because people are bumping studs away from studs and stuff like that. So you just don't get those really Donnybrooks. But when you get down to the third
Oh.
place and first place matches in a tournament, or the semifinals, or the blood round where you got to win to get a medal, that is when you see
Oh,
some
man.
just real fights and scraps that they get really good. So we'll try to keep you posted, through social media and everything about the best times to get out and view wrestling over the holidays, because there'll be a lot going on in the area. It's going to be fun. You want to pick some hammers? You got any
Yeah.
hammers you want to shout out?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a couple of guys who I thought stood out. JP2, Daniel Snyder, Jackson Riley picking up a couple of dubs. Bailey Homer with the clincher in that hard fought Bridges prep match.
Yeah.
So, a couple of strong choices there, and Mr. Jones at 144 for the Bucks showing out
Tony Jones, I
as well.
think. I don't
Okay.
have first names, but I think that's
Okay.
Tony Jones.
Tony Jones, yeah. Yeah, great
They
showing.
had a bunch of guys
yeah.
tonight that were like triple winners.
Yeah.
It was good to see. Summers
Yep.
was a beast.
Yeah.
Tony Jones was good though. I think Tony Jones, if I'm not mistaken, Trevor Jones.
Trevor Jones.
There we
Okay.
go. I think Trevor is the young man who very strong, very athletic, and you can tell he's kind of new to the sport. He's still learning, what's going on. But he got a big win, if I'm thinking of the right guy. Big win against Bamberg. Got a pin after a really tough match. At the end of it, he was able to get the pin. So that was a huge win for them. And he's 10-2 on the season. I'm telling you, that dude, if I'm thinking of the right guy, he is muscle bound and really tough. They got some good looking kids. Coach Hagan is doing a heck of a job with that program, getting them off the ground fast. And he's got a bunch of guys in his corner too. That's one thing. Sometimes you show up to a match and there's one coach over there yelling, and you're like, oh, this poor guy. He's the only one in the room, and that's no good. Hagen's got 3 or 4 guys over there in the corner who can know what's going on, and then more who are there to support and be eyes. So it really takes a village to be able to stay on top of the kids and make sure they're doing everything the right way every time. You can't watch 24 guys drilling at the same time by yourself. So you got to have extra eyes and ears. And, that's one thing that's been really beneficial for Powell at May River. He's got great support there. Hagen, shout out to the assistant coaches. Yeah, baby. Powell's got great
I got to
support over
see
there.
Coach Nutter and some of those Bobcat wrestlers here tonight when it was over at basketball. I didn't see him compete, but I saw him walk in and watching the game over there. So I'm excited for Bluffton, what they could do, and to kind of lessen that gap between them and May River, because the Sharks have really become that powerhouse here in the Loco. But I think that might be start. I still think May River's the best team in Class 4 right here in the Low Country, but I do think that it's starting to narrow. I think Bluffton's really catching on, and then Hilton Head, is a wild card in there as well. So it's gonna be a really fun.
Hilton Head's going to get better fast.
Yeah.
Hilton Head's going to get better a lot really fast, and Bluffton is continuing to improve year over year. There's a lot of talent coming from the middle schools across the board, and it's gonna shake some things up a little bit. Hilton Head's got a monster middle school squad, like 30 guys. So it's really good to see. And like I said, that starts with the grassroots opportunities. Because I mean, when I got here in 05, it was scarce to find any kind of youth wrestling opportunities that I knew about. And I talked to coaches and they said, yeah, it's just not here. And now it is. And
Yep.
it's a lagging thing. It's a lagging thing that takes time for it to show up. But we're already seeing it. We're seeing every year more kids who come in as a freshman and make an impact. They already know the sport. They're not just learning the sport. They've been doing it for a few years. They're ready to make an impact, maybe run at a state championship. And I'll tell you, we got one of the best just outside our coverage area up at Cane Bay. JJ Peace is one of the best that has ever come through this state. If I'm not mistaken, he's undefeated in his high school career going into his senior season. I know he just went over 100 wins. He is an absolute monster. And there's going to be more and more guys like that coming up as the sport continues to take hold in the area. I was going to give a little shout out. Hilton Head, yeah, as Hagen noted, Hilton Head Middle won the Hartsville tournament last week. Yeah, I know. I scoped it out. I'm scouting them. We got a little Donnybrook between Bluffton Waves 13U teammates brewing at 88 this weekend. Possibly Truman Jarrett versus Joey Fontana could be a possible
title
matchup.
card match right there. Yeah,
we're looking forward to it. May River had a nice weekend at Cane Bay again. They went 3-1. Some hammers for you. Bryce Stevenson winning a title at 113 for Hilton Head up at Hartsville. Antonio McKnight won one at Northwood for Buford High. Jacob Alfonso, I believe, is undefeated with all pins so far. And then Chase LaFountain, Daniel Snyder, you shouted him out already, and Renzo Cedeno won titles for John Paul II. Carter Sims for Carleton Prep has been an absolute monster as well. So those are some hammers to shout out. For May River, they got a bunch of hammers, quite frankly. Yeah, Rodriguez, the 127 for Thomas Hayward. Jason Alfonso gives him a hammer award. He went undefeated today. But the other guys, Echeverria from Josh Echeverria from May River, that guy, I remember seeing him 2 years ago and thinking, that kid's tough. If he figures out what he's doing, he's going to be pretty good. And then last year, he was pretty good. And this year, he is a hammer. He's pinning everybody he sees and looks really good doing it. So, I think he's kind of their leader right now. But certainly Caden McCallum has also been outstanding. And the young kid, Houston Rudisil, freshman, is terrific as well. So those are just a few names that you're going to want to keep an eye on as this season goes on. And after this weekend, after the Low Country Invitational, where we get to see a lot of head-to-head stuff, we're going to get our little rankings committee together, and we're going to come up with weight class by weight class rankings only for the Lowco coverage area and try to keep tabs with that throughout the year. So when we have great head-to-head matchups, we can kind of hype it up as number 5 against number 4, number 2 against number 1.
That's going to make it even more fun.
Yeah, we gotta get some hype around this sport because it's really terrific. And next week also we will make sure that we have more video ready to roll. We'll watch some video of some guys who have been rocking and rolling this season on the mats. But thanks so much to everyone who came along for the ride on the maiden voyage of the Lowco Grind. We're going to be back every week during wrestling season, and then the schedule will be kind of to be determined after high school wrestling season wraps up. We're going to see how much news we have to report, but certainly at least every other week, if not every week, throughout the year, if we get enough sponsorship support. So looking forward to talking more wrestling and combat sports in the Lowco with US and all of our friends here in the Lowco wrestling and MMA community. So good times for this first one. Thanks again to Greg Lawns, Alex Hagen, and Jason Alfonso for jumping in with us, as well as the Fight Doctor, Carlo Perusa, and many thanks to Blake Maffei and Reverence Wrestling Club for their presenting sponsorship of the Lowco Grind and their support of grassroots local sports coverage throughout their time here in town. I mean, they've been great supporters of ours and of wrestling, and it's so great to have so many people, like-minded people in our community who just want to build this thing up, this local sports thing for these kids, and give them an opportunity to reach their full potential, whatever sport they choose to commit themselves to. So thanks to everyone who's been a part of it. This was a great maiden voyage. Can't wait to see you next week on the Lowco Grind. And until next time, go Lowco.